You're muted.
Oh,
Completely.
so embarrassing. I've never done one of these before.
That's all right.
Someone took my little hammer, but I will call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Swampscott School Committee regular session meeting of Thursday, May 8th, 2025, 6 o'clock. We are at Swampscott High School in lovely room B129. I'll call this meeting to order, and if you so choose, please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So, before we get started, thank you for my hammer, just in case the audience here gets
Out of control and
unruly.
rowdy.
Before we get started with the love of learning, I would like to introduce our newest member to our cabral here, Mr. Miguel Contreras. It's Miguel's first official school committee meeting, although he did go to an executive session yesterday. Miguel, welcome on behalf of everybody. Amy O'Connor had a family obligation this evening, and Suzanne Wright she had the same thing, and she may come a little bit late. So welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us why you wanted to join this lovely institution, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, so Miguel Contreras, I've been the PTO president at the middle school for a little while and just kind of helping there for the last few years. Since my child is now moving on to the high school here, was kind of looking for something else to kind of do to still try to give back. So that's how I kind of ended up here. But my background and stuff is working in tech. So I work in health tech at the moment. If you've ever been on the MGB website looking for a doctor, you've probably used our product without knowing. And I've worked in real estate for tech and that part, and also in finance for about 6 years.
Great. Well, welcome. Just speaking for myself, this is my 8th or 9th year, I guess, doing this. It's incredibly rewarding. It's incredibly humbling, I think is the thing that I will say. It certainly makes you look at the whole instead of just the unit. So welcome aboard. We're happy to have you, and I promise you, after the first year, you'll be a piece of cake. All right. With that, I'm going to ask Jenny to speak later, but I do want to introduce Representative Jenny Armini from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, our districts. Jenny has been battling with and attending the Marblehead town meeting, and Jenny was nice enough to join us today. We're just going to go through the love of learning, and then we can chat away.
Sure.
For the love of learning.
Do you want to go to the podium?
I will go to the podium, thank you, because you actually told me I have to go to the podium, so thank you. All right.
I think you're my boss.
I know. Excuse me. Okay. Please hold your applause to the end, everybody. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. First and foremost, tonight we are bidding adieu to our two student representatives. Sam and Noel have been with us now for 2 years and really have invented this model of having students come in as juniors, really getting their feet wet through their junior year, and then senior year, just adding so much to this group. It's not an easy thing to listen to 5 to 10 adults agree or disagree, and listen to constituents, who may or may not have something we can talk about. And I hope that, as far as the group goes, from the superintendent on down, that you've enjoyed this experience, that you'll take something with you, and as you move forward in life, you will consider giving back to the community that you end up residing in. Because, as I mentioned to Miguel, it's incredibly rewarding. Yes, it's challenging. It's incredibly rewarding. There's nothing more rewarding, in my opinion, than giving back to the community in which you reside. So with that, we do have a couple small gifts for you. I will call Noel first. Can you come up? And just to remind everybody, Noel is going to Clemson University. in, thank you, in the fall. So, Noelle, again, good luck, congratulations. It's been amazing getting to know you, it really has.
Thank you.
And to Sam. Sam, amazing individual, amazing family. Sam is going to Harvard University in fall. Best of luck to you. This is for you, and you guys could, Noelle, if you can come back up.
Sure.
Get a photo. And Representative Armini, while you're here, could you join us with
I would love to. I think so.
Jenny, please join us.
Sure, you got it.
This is like the highlight of my week. I know. Seriously.
Please. All right.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hold on, wait.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna give you both hugs. I'm gonna get them on stage at graduation too, so you better get ready for that. So much. Congratulations, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much. Oh, I forgot my phone, sorry. Thank you.
Get out of here. Again, on behalf of the entire community, not just the school committee, but the entire community, both in the schools and the town, you really do add a lot. And just to understand what goes on in this building better, I think makes all of us better school committee people and better administrators. So, thank you. All right, before we go to committee comment, again, I'd like to reintroduce Representative Armini, who came for a few minutes to chat about what's going on at the State House and how it affects our lovely little community.
Yeah. I think I'm on now, right?
You are, yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here to celebrate Sam and Noelle because you are obviously our goal. You are what we work towards every single day. So, I'm going to be talking about education budget numbers, right? And those numbers represent the state's investment in you. And we, fortunately, so budgets, as you probably learned from being here, budgets can be a little crazy. The House of Representatives just voted on its version of the budget, and over the next couple weeks, the Senate's going to vote on its version. And then we're going to fight it out and hopefully have a consensus document by the end of June. Education, of course, plays a big role in this document. And education funding, it's called Chapter 70 funding. That's just where it falls in the law. And so the House increased Chapter 70 funding over last year by 6.7%. So, and what's really exciting, I think, for a community like Swampscott is that the per pupil expenditure, and again, this is where things get wonky, is being boosted from $120 per student to $150 per student. Now, just a few years ago, that per pupil expenditure, if you can believe it, was only $30 a student. So we've really come a long way, and we're going to continue to come a long way. Now, what these numbers will translate into for Swampscott is $5,783,630. That is an 8.2% increase over what Swampscott got last year. Now, again, this is just the House version. So these numbers could change. But interestingly, the Senate released its document, its budget blueprint this week, and they kept the $150 per pupil.
Wow,
So
really?
very, very happy about
Congratulations about that.
yeah,
Everybody.
really happy about that. The other thing that is a big expense, and I'm sure you've talked about this, for municipalities is special education and the transportation, especially transportation related to special education. So, and that's called the circuit breaker, special education circuit breaker. The circuit breaker is getting a 24% increase from last year, again, at least in the House budget. And what has played a significant role in our ability to do that is the Fair Share Amendment, also known as the millionaire's tax. So 60.8% of the money we receive from, we'll call it fair share, is for education. 39.2% is for transportation. That was the deal when it passed on the ballot, that roughly the money would be divided between education and transportation. And it's that money that's enabling us to do things like universal school meals and $50 million for circuit breaker, additional $50 million for circuit breaker. So, so I'm very happy to report these numbers to you. And I expect them to stay roughly, I'll be shocked if we see, something dramatically change. The state is in the middle of a massive new investment in education through what's called the Student Opportunity Act. It passed in 2019, and it's really geared towards districts that continue to struggle. You often hear Massachusetts is #1 in education, right? We pat ourselves on the back. We are fabulous. Our NAEP scores are #1. Woohoo! But when you dig a little deeper into the numbers, you see really big gaps, right? In certain communities, certain demographics. So the Student Opportunity Act was meant to address those gaps by plowing big new revenue into education, but especially geared towards those communities. And that's not Swampscott, right? And so that's why I'm happy that I reported we're, in the House budget, we plussed up the per pupil expenditure from 120 to 150. Nice. And the Senate has followed our lead on that, which is great. So I think with the so the Student Opportunity Act is a 7-year plan, and we're getting towards the end of that. What's going to happen at that point will be interesting. The state is very hesitant, as you can imagine, to open up that Chapter 70 funding formula.
Big can of worms.
Big can of worms, right? They opened it up for Student Opportunity Act, right? And that's what you saw with this additional funding for those communities. But, there are a lot of communities like Swampscott that are, saying, hey, wait a minute, we're not getting what we should be getting. So and this is purely conjecture on my part, as Student Opportunity Act starts to wind down, will we start to think about opening up that formula again? I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. Also, I reported with special ed, we plussed up the circuit breaker by 24%.
In this budget?
The House did. With an eye towards transportation, because, we continue to hear from districts that it's a budget buster. So I am open and ready for any questions.
Well, you bring good news on the House budget anyway.
Yeah.
So is the House budget waiting on the Senate approval and then the governor?
So
Or is it like,
right. So
how much good news that you're bringing us?
So the governor already introduced her budget at the beginning of the year. That's called House 1.
Right.
And we just did ours, voted on ours a couple weeks ago. The Senate is now working on their own. We'll fight it out when they're done voting, and then by the end of June, have a consensus document that hopefully the governor will be willing to sign, which probably.
I have a lot of confidence in her, not so much confidence in the other branch.
In what?
No, there's a lot of room to find the middle ground, right?
Talk to me about this. What do you?
No, I feel like, there's so many pressures, right?
Right.
And I think sometimes the Swampscott, like a community like Swampscott, sorry you guys, I came in late, I don't even.
No, that's
not
okay.
even
No,
reacting to
Suzanne,
what you
please,
said.
please.
But
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
but I feel like a town like Swampscott does get sort of short-shafted a lot of time because
Yep.
people really perceive this as an upper middle class community, even a solidly middle class community, which our demographics are definitely shifting, and so there's a lot of things that need to catch up for us.
Mm-hmm.
Like so it's always been tough for this district, and we haven't always had like super strong advocates for us or lobbyists for us, like some of the other wealthier districts maybe have had. But I was more talking about like, I'd like to see the Senate budget is going to probably look different.
It doesn't. The Senate maintained the 150
It
per
did?
pupil.
All right,
Yeah,
so that's great. I'm glad to hear that.
it is great. So, Swampscott, along with most other communities, are called minimum aid communities. Like we are a minimum aid community. So it really,
But we've seen, but
it's not about lobbying. It's
we've seen
about
other minimum aid communities get more than we get.
not
and
out of Chapter 70.
I think over the years, we've
Yeah.
come so much closer. I mean, we have been fighting, we have been tooth and nail fighting for a lot of that. But we do see other communities. We do see a lot of W communities. We saw Marblehead not too long ago get more than Swampscott for percentage-wise.
So remember, it's a funding formula.
Right.
And what I will say about this formula is it is skewed towards census.
Right.
And so that's why you see a town like Lexington, right, which you could argue is a wealthier community, get more money because their census is booming.
Right.
They have a huge student population. Swampscott census has dropped, Marblehead census has dropped. And so even though Marblehead's still a bigger town population-wise, the school census has dropped. And that funding formula is very much skewed towards census.
But not just number of kids, it's skewed towards demographics too, and special
Yeah, there's
ed
a
and-
lot. There's a lot in Chapter 70
Right,
in that
but
funding
I'm
formula.
saying, I think the demographics, the demographics are sort of more important.
Not as in a weight, right?
Right. No, not more-
Census. No, I'm saying census has a lot of weight. That's all I'm
I
saying.
didn't realize that. I really thought it was-
Census has a lot of weight.
That's interesting. And so, because our population is,
Our school population has been dropping consistently
Right.
over the last several years, and so that's where you're seeing.
that's so interesting.
Like, when you look
That's
at
interesting to
Lexington-
me, though, because the formula, I guess, the formula seems like it should be irrespective of census, right? Because numbers are the numbers are the numbers. Like, you have more kids or less kids, but it's really about, I don't mean to say the quality of kids, but that the challenges that it's really more about the challenges that your kids in your district are facing, right? And the amount of free and reduced lunch, and that's hard to capture right now. The amount of English language learners or kids on IEPs, like those, to me, census is kind of, I'm surprised to hear you saying that census is weighted more heavily than, like, numbers.
I'm not willing to say it's weighted more heavily than something else because I don't know the funding formula
Yeah,
that intimately. All I'm saying is census is weighted heavily. Now, the communities you're talking about, take Lynn, for instance,
Right.
right? That's a community that gets student opportunity act money.
But that's also, we don't count that as one of our communities, because it's not one of those communities that's whatever you just.
Minimum aid.
Right, the whole point of Chapter 70 originally was about communities like that, right? In Bedfords and Springfields and getting all those communities up to what the minimal aid communities were able to fund through property taxes, right?
Well, no, what happened was, though, over time, and I mentioned this a little bit, is that what we've seen in the test scores, right, is that, yes, we are wonderful, we are number one in the country, yada, yada, number one
Right.
NAEP scores, but when you dig a little deeper into the numbers, those communities that we'll call Student Opportunity Act communities now are really, they're just huge gaps.
Right.
Huge.
Yes.
And the Student Opportunity Act has poured tons and tons of money since 2019. It's a 7-year program, 2019. Tons more money into those specific communities. We don't get that. But that's still part of Chapter 70. Student Opportunity Act is, you know, still in there. So,
I'm trying to wrap my head around Student Opportunity Act is in Chapter 70.
what's that?
I'm wrapping my head around Student Opportunity Act is in Chapter 70?
No, it's,
No.
here, let me show you this. This might help you. A little bit. It doesn't, I mean, until you like dive deep into the formula, which,
No, I remember having
need
one
a
of these,
PhD.
like, you know, student, Chapter 70 for dummies.
so here's, so this is us, right, with the Living Chapter 70, and we get the circuit breaker, right, and the charter, right, so,
So this full total is the student.
right, it's in there.
Yeah, no, yes, I think I was listening to you, I think I was thinking about it the opposite way that you're saying it. But, anyway, good news, I'm happy. Like, I'm not.
But I think the issue that you're speaking to is the funding formula and how it's, you know, how it's weighted and how it's constructed.
But like, I'm a big fan of the Chapter 70 funding and the
Yeah.
formula.
Yeah.
Like the whole reason it happened to begin with makes so much sense. I mean, the whole using the formula like this to sort of equalize communities is fantastic.
Yep.
Right? But it's gotten out of hand because it doesn't really work, because communities like us that are almost fully funded or near funded or whatever, and communities that fund way over Chapter 70 are still have this like crazy advantage, right? Like it's I mean, I'm not complaining because we're lucky. We live where we live, and we can give more money than the state says we need to educate people. You know, I'm a huge proponent of it.
Yeah.
But it does need tweaking, obviously, because demographics are changing and things need to be weighted a little more differently, for sure. You know, especially right now after coming out of COVID and the amount of kids that aren't identified as needing special needs. Like, there's this whole group that we're trying to catch up with MTSS, right? Like the multi-tiered support services that aren't showing up on 504s or IEPs that are costing more to educate, right? Like the whole group of kids isn't even in the funding formula, and that's a real population of kids across the state, across the country, probably.
Yep.
From COVID loss, right? So, you know, that's something that could be captured in a funding formula like COVID loss.
I agree, and I think that's one of the newest things, is that we do have this enormous group who are, I don't say falling through the cracks, but they're not eligible for an IEP, they're not eligible for 504.
Right.
Yet they are struggling and have struggled since the end of COVID. They continue to struggle. And, you know, the biggest, you know, one of the, not the biggest, but like for me, there's only, because of the formula that we all follow, there's only so many hours, you know, 6-hour day. Sometimes it's just not enough to educate the students. But if we wanted to increase that, the amount of money that the unions would demand, rightly so, that we just could never afford that. I mean, if we can win back 10 minutes, that's a big deal for us. I think for me, and then I'll turn it over to John. You know, a couple questions. You know, you had mentioned, you know, with MCAS requirement going away, which I'm a humongous advocate of it going away, you know, from me personally. You know, we do, I think, struggle. I think parents struggle a little bit with, you know, even though the kids can take the exams and we make them take the exams, it's not as quote unquote important. So it does get sometimes difficult to measure. And I know that, I'm sure at a state level, I'm sure that's a big discussion, is how do we measure? Right? How do we measure someone who's, you know, ready to go to college or ready to go in the workplace? And, has there been any discussion about, with, again, MCAS going away, what's the discussion on a more global level?
Yeah.
Where you are?
The governor has a council, a committee. It's made up of people from DESE. It's made up of the unions. It's made up of education specialists, and they are grappling with this issue right now.
Right.
I think once we get, there's a new commissioner, DESE commissioner coming in. Once he arrives, I'm hoping that that's going to kind of energize this effort. The council itself, I'm calling it a council, I don't know the technical word for it, is really big. I think there are 30 people on it. I think at some point we're probably going to have to shrink that and really get, into the work of figuring out what, Ed Reform 2.0 right, is going to look like, because that's essentially what we're talking about.
Right.
It's almost like, 1992, 93, we passed Ed Reform, this huge monumental effort, but it's going to run its course, right? There needs to be some new energy and ideas.
Refreshed.
Yeah, it needs to be refreshed. And so, yes, to your question, people are working on that right now, but I do think we'll get a boost once we have a commissioner.
So the last question from me before I put it over to John. I'm happy to hear that students going from 120 to 150. What is a budget buster, not only for us, but I think for a majority of school districts? And you talked about it as special ed.
Yeah.
And the circuit breaker is a really complicated tool, and it's great that's going up 24%. That may touch the iceberg of just the amount of expense, because like a town like ours, you could have a family move in tomorrow, and the child or children need significant help, and we own them from 3 to 22, which again from a personal story is great. But if a child comes in and they need to go out of district, you could potentially be looking at a $400,000+ bill, and for a community like ours, even though we have a very healthy budget, and we're still coming to the end of a budget fight, that's a breaker right there. So I think it's great that the increase in circuit breaker is coming. I do believe that there should be something that is a little bit above and beyond that, to when the cities and towns have this break, that even above and beyond circuit breaker could help us manage our budget, because that can blow a hole tomorrow in our budget. So that's just a comment from me. John?
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This is great to hear some of these updates. I had a couple notes here. One was around special ed and just some of the budget challenges that we've had. Just not to repeat what you said, Glenn, but the increases have been double digits for the last few years for sure. And I think for us, it's that budget uncertainty that's kind of that X factor in the process. And it makes it very, very difficult to kind of plan, ahead when you don't know, like Glenn said, a family moves in or some other costs come up regarding special ed. It would be great if there were, if it wasn't all on the town. I think that's where you're going with that. I think, if there's any opportunity to explore that at the State House, that would be terrific. And I think you talked about the Student Opportunity Act. I think one of the pieces of feedback I've heard, not a lot, but I've heard it in the time I've been on here, has been a little bit what Suzanne was saying, that people say, we pay a ton in taxes, and for every dollar we pay, we get back a fraction of that dollar here at Swampscott. And the complaint is it seems unfair. And I know we talked about the Chapter 70 formula and everything, but it's just that's the reaction that a lot of people have. And as this thing, as you said, is rolling off its 7-year cycle, if there's an opportunity in the district to listen to feedback as you're having those debates, but take that feedback from your communities back to the State House, I think that would be very helpful, because even just on a tiny level here, just what I've heard has been very educational just to hear, why people think this way or what they think solutions might be. And again, anything that, I'm all about anything that can help, this process and help, the kids. I'm all for that. So again, just throwing it out there, just some of the things that have crossed my path here.
Thank you, John. Miguel, anything?
I'm happy to hear that things are going in a good direction. I know other people here on the committee have seen me on the town floor or in this meeting saying to push the town to fund the budgets a little bit more, since each year has been cut. So it's good to hear that might be getting a little bit more funding. I know it won't solve all of our problems, but it'll be something.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to ask one question, I'll turn it over to you and the rest of the group. We hear all the time, and I'm sure you've heard, cities and towns more and more now are having to go to a Prop 2.5 override.
Right.
Has there been any thought to talk about refresh? This goes back to 1980.
In 1980, Barbara Anderson
right,
from Marblehead.
Marblehead.
Yeah.
And at that time, right, at that time, candidly, it was needed, right? If you go back and you actually do the research, it just was.
Mm.
But like any good bill, especially around education, times change. And while I think that there has to be a check and a balance to keep taxes as, within reason, has there been any thought to either having an exemption for education or bumping that to even 3%? Has there been any talk about that at a state level? And I know that's probably a non-starter, but I think if you talk to a lot of cities and towns, and I know I've spoken to my peers in Marblehead, and they really feel the same way.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more would give, I think, the select boards and finance committees of towns a little bit more impetus to open up the wallet a little bit.
The only thing I've heard is in the education exemption. I have colleagues who are interested in that, but it's not, I would not say it's a discussion, at least not for this session. I have not heard anything serious about that.
Well, I hope at some point it does come up, because I really do think it's needed, unfortunately, but it is needed. If you just start looking at, the matrix of what something cost back then versus what it costs 45 years later, it does need, like the Chapter 70, it needs to be tweaked.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to open up. Do you have any questions?
I have no questions. I don't know if the students have any questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sam or Noel, any questions?
I don't have any questions, no.
I was actually gonna ask, how does, if you can explain that process of getting the final budget passed with the Senate, how does that work? Finally, you know what I mean? Because you're describing the fight, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't think a lot of people
debate.
So what's going to happen is the Senate will pass their own version.
Yeah.
And then a conference committee is going to be created, and it's some members from both sides, from the Senate and the House. It's usually the chair of House Ways and Means, the chair of Senate Ways and Means, the vice chair. There's a Republican always on the conference committee. And so their task is to literally sit down and make the numbers work.
Mm-hmm.
And then they report out the consensus document, and we vote on it again. Now, interesting.
Does that process just continue until?
What's that?
Do they keep releasing the new census document, and then you vote on it again until a budget is?
It's got to be done
before
by July 1.
The time threshold. Okay.
It has to be done by July 1. Now we've gone beyond July 1 in the past, but hopefully we won't this year. Interestingly, though, and this is kind of an X factor, honestly, is what's happening in Washington.
Right.
Because, I'm so happy to come here and tell you that the Massachusetts House is doing what it's, all that it can do for education right now. But the federal government works on a different calendar. Their fiscal year ends on October 1st. Our fiscal year ends on July 1st, which is why we have that deadline. And so they've got they're working on their budget right now too, but they're a little behind us. And if they decide to, you know, really dramatically cut, say, Medicaid, right, then we possibly will have to go back in the fall and pass a different budget. Now, remember I said the governor has line item veto?
Yes.
So she can go in, depending on what's happening in the world, and just change numbers, cut things out. But, you know, at some point, if it's really bad, then we may have to come back in the fall and do a different budget.
Okay.
We just don't know yet.
Yeah.
So it's actually, in some ways, it was a strange budget to work on, because we're using certain numbers, certain assumptions. Like, you know, the state gets about $16 billion a year, every single year, for Medicaid reimbursement. Well, that's a lot of money. And if even a fraction of that gets cut, that's a big blow to the budget. Now, Massachusetts is a very well-run state. We have a AAA bond rating. We have $9 billion in the bank. But what's $9 billion in the bank versus a whole of $16 billion per year?
Yeah.
Right? So there is a lot of uncertainty. You know, there is a lot of uncertainty, and that's so do keep that in mind as well.
Absolutely.
I have one thing you haven't talked about that
Yeah.
is a really huge concern of mine.
Yeah.
And I think all of ours actually, it's just not really part of this conversation, but teacher education and encouraging people to go into teacher education, especially in special education, and the numbers that are coming out of schools, education programs, you know, significantly dropping, and how difficult it is for us to attract teachers. Not even attract them, find them, like find them under whatever rock. I mean, and the quality isn't necessarily what we aspire to. And I think that we need the state's help to try to incentivize either loan paybacks for college teacher education, or to help fund bonuses to hire teachers, to help schools pay stipends and extra things to attract and keep teachers, because I think that's really, I mean, budget aside, because it's just going to keep growing and special ed is going to keep continuing to be a problem, and unfunded mandates are going to continue to be a problem, but teacher shortage is going to be huge. Yeah. And it's going to affect everything, because it starts with their student facing. Right. and I think I think we really do need the government's help to try to find ways to encourage people, even if it's, I mean, even education campaigns and PSAs, like, you know, like encouraging people to go into teaching, like the most important job in the world, and you know, Massachusetts is touting. I mean, people are always talking about how crappy teacher salaries are. Well, we have a lot of districts that pay their teachers $100,000 a year for 180 days of work, and to a lot of people, that's a lot of money. When people hear teachers make crappy salaries, they're thinking $60,000 maybe or something, right? But when you start hearing, I mean, it still is not enough. I'm saying that it's still not enough. But I think when people hear teachers make bad salaries, they're thinking $30,000 and $40,000 and $50,000. They're hearing what their teachers are making down south or something. And I think it's important that somehow we have some public service push to try to find teachers and try to incentivize our state colleges in their teacher education programs and recruiting kids from high schools. And it's an important job, and it's no one is going into the field. And we heard this on right. Some special educators presented some information to us yesterday, and they were saying, like, you know, 30,000 teachers, special ed teachers graduated this year. Like, that's nuts.
Out of the whole country?
Huh?
The whole country?
Yeah, that's what they were saying. It's hard to believe that stat, but that's nuts, because I bet you New York City alone needs 30,000 special ed teachers this year. Like, when you just think about the problem this is, it's huge. So
this House budget included $7.5 million for loan forgiveness for early educators. You know, the feds, well, who knows, but they have, in the past, had loan forgiveness for public service, and teaching is considered public service.
Yeah, I think those are things, I think people need to hear this stuff. I don't think, we're not
Right.
promoting
No, I hear what
teaching
you're
as a
saying.
profession, and it's definitely not coming from our government in any way, shape, or form, that it's a real great.
But they want us to
profession.
have more babies.
Right.
Yes, yes, and I'm not even gonna go there, but it's just,
We could have a whole discussion about that little piece of the pie.
I can't
Um,
even, anyway, that's like, it's outside of everything you're talking about, but I.
No, I hear you. I think
it
it's
is something-
important.
I think it is something that needs to be on someone's radar somewhere, thinking about how we grow teachers in Massachusetts and we keep them in Massachusetts.
Well, like I said, we did the $7.5 million for early educators, I think because right now there's this real sense that there's no place for families to put their small children.
Right.
There is not.
And, you know, that is part of economic development as well. It's
Yeah, so
interesting.
we're having trouble with, let's say, high school science teachers. So what if there was incentive for people to come from private to take a year of education, and you would pay them to learn how to be a teacher and go into teaching?
Right.
I'm just saying, there needs to.
There is that, the state does have that program.
I know there are programs, but I'm just saying, they're just not, like, we just really need to.
Like, I know, I get
Keep
the
it up.
PSA idea,
Yeah.
you know, like a real
Yeah, like something.
Right.
public push. And no, I
Because
think it's
it really
interesting.
does put a district like all districts, it puts everybody into this, you know, everybody's fighting for those 4 or 5 people.
And then also it affects negotiations, right?
Right.
Like we're over a barrel, like, oh, we're gonna give you whatever you want,
Right.
because we don't
Right.
want you to leave. I mean,
Right.
we're not, because we have such a great relationship with our staff.
No.
But I'm just saying, it's hard, it's a rock and a hard place a little bit.
Mhm.
And anyway, sorry.
And just one more thing on this circuit breaker, because
Yeah.
we're talking about
Yeah.
special ed. One of the proposals in the legislature, and I don't, you know, it's not reflected in this budget, but at least it's part of the conversation, is boosting, you know, the circuit breaker, the state pays for 75%. There are proposals to boost that to 90%
Wow.
in
That would be
recognition.
huge.
That alone would
That's a
make
big
a
jump.
lot of our ills go away.
Yeah.
Because we've really been stretched so much of, you know, we need to provide for any student with special education. There's only so much money, so some of that definitely comes from, you know, the offerings on the gen ed side.
Right.
So again, anything that could help defray some of those costs would be amazing. I guess from my perspective, I really appreciate you coming.
Oh, well, thanks. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate the opportunity
It's
to
been
be
it's
here.
been very educational.
And I'll come back.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry there was confusion.
No, please.
I'm really sorry.
This is very easy. Don't worry about it. It could have been my fault. Not an issue.
Yeah.
But I want to be mindful of the time. I know you have to go to your own town meeting.
Rather stay
You
here?
wanna stay for a little longer?
Right, we have ours in a couple weeks, so you can come on back. But thank you so much.
I'll be there.
Thank you for your time. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, and best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're gonna have
you.
a great time. I went to an UCC school. I went to Harvard for grad school. It rocks.
Great. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All righty. That was awesome. Great. All right, so let's do quickly committee comment. Suzanne.
Shout out to Sam and his performance tonight.
Thank you.
The Heritage Festival, that was kinda great. I don't have a comment.
Okay.
I just love that event, and it's just like so nice that it's a beautiful day, and
Yeah.
Swampscott looks so vibrant when you're driving by, and you're just like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah. John.
2 quick things. One, just to, again, recognize Sam and Noel. I can't believe it's been 2 years already, but your insights and perspectives have been very valuable, and so thank you for those. And good luck in your future endeavors, both of you. And also, you know, welcome to Miguel from me as well. I think I just said it maybe 2 school meetings ago that, you know, so up until tonight, I was the newbie at 5 years. So, you know, so it's nice to have you aboard.
Yeah.
Great.
Just also, thanks, John, for putting me to shame, sorry. Ditto for you too, and Miguel, welcome. It's like, I feel like you've been here, just.
Miguel.
I don't know. I'm just happy to be here and learn and try to see what kind of change I can try to do.
Great. Thank you. Noel.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I really have learned that like there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that your average high school student has no idea about.
Sorry about that.
Your average person lives in town.
So I really do appreciate being able to be here for 2 years, and I did learn a lot, and I will always treasure this experience, so thank you very much. Also, Blue Big Band is performing tonight at 7:15 in the auditorium, so if anybody wants to go see that, they are very good, very talented group of people, and it is AP season at the high school, so the exams are in full swing. It's chaotic, but from what I've heard, it's going pretty well, so
Great.
that's all I have.
Thank you, Noel. Sam?
I have to agree with Noel, and saying thank you to all you guys, both for the opportunity and just the experience. It's really been beneficial to me in many ways. Sort of transformative, not just as a student but as a person. So I want to say thank you for that to all of you. And yeah, I mean, it's sad to say that this will be my last committee comment.
Wait, are you sad? Is that a sad face?
Yeah.
It's a sad
He said
face.
it's sad to say. It's
It's a sad face.
With a big smile, sort of like, I'm sad, I'm retiring.
It's like Karen, right? Karen was saying, oh, I'm really so sad that I'm here.
Just checking.
But yeah, I appreciate the comment about the Heritage Festival. It's also sad to say that would be my last time performing at the Heritage Festival. We've done it the past 4 years, and it's a great event. So I'm really glad that I got to be a part of that and just a part of this. So thank you guys.
Great, you're welcome. And I'll save my comments to the chair comments. All right, reports and discussions.
So, Ms. Stella is online, and she is going to begin. As we were going through the budget process, I know that Mr. Kalishman and Ms. Stella presented club fees and athletic fees increasing, and one of the other areas that we had been discussing internally was Unibank convenient fees, and because school committee's responsibility is the budget, and therefore approving fees, Ms. Stella has developed a memo for you that she'd like to share with you tonight. And I have put vote requested because this is something that I do believe the school committee will have to vote on.
Okay.
Cheryl, can you share your screen?
Sure.
I can put it up.
Oh, okay, great.
Look at you, Jeff.
Is that easier for you guys?
He'll put it on.
I don't know if it's easier, but I'm going to try to put it up.
Okay,
Get that.
there you go.
We've come such a long
I
way.
know, such a pro.
Yeah, Cheryl.
Just let me know when you need me to scroll.
Sure. So I was hoping the committee would consider a possible change to the current district process for the fees that are associated with credit card payments that are paid via Unibank, which is the town's vendor with which any parent can make, anyone can make actually an online payment to. Currently, they do charge us, it's a varying convenience fee. They do have a fee schedule for each transaction. And they also have a fee associated with ACH processing as well. Up to this point, the district has absorbed these fees within our budget. I included a summary just for your reference so you can see how much those fees have grown. They have practically doubled since FY21, and it's starting to create I don't want to say issues, but I do think that, in this current environment, this is one of those areas where it's a nice to have and a nice service to offer to the parents. But I don't know if this is something that we should be continuing as a district. The town treasurer did look into this with Unibank, and out of the 159 communities that utilize Unibank for these types of payments, only 10, this should say do pass on the fee, so only 10 communities still pass on the fee that they don't pass on the fee to the individual, I'm sorry. So 149 of them actually pass the fee on to the individual that's making the payment. So we're kind of in the minority at this point when it comes to this current procedure. And I'm asking the committee to consider changing it potentially.
I just want to chime in and reiterate, for those that might be watching but can't see the memo. So in FY '21, it was $7,616, and in FY '24, it was $16,793. That's significant when we think of the budget challenges we've gone through. And the other thing I would say, and Ms. Stella and I were talking about this, when I go online to pay my bills in Peabody, I eat the fee. So, but it's for convenience sake. So again, this is tied to the budget, and so we bring it to you tonight to ask you to discuss it and then for a vote as to whether or not we're gonna pass on the fee. I do find that data incredible, that there's 149 communities that do pass this fee.
159.
Well, 10 that don't.
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry.
And so we're one of 10 that don't,
Yeah,
and
we
that
have to pass
seems
it, yeah.
staggering
I
to me.
think it's, but as a town, we do.
You do,
I mean,
yeah.
there's town, I mean, pretty sure when you used to be able to buy the beach sticker online, you paid that fee.
Mhm.
And when you enroll for, let's say, Swampscott Youth Soccer, I'm pretty sure you pay that fee. I mean, I think this is sort of like a no-brainer.
Yeah,
But also, I mean, you have the option too, to enroll your Visa or debit card into PayPal or Venmo and not pay the fee.
Mhm.
Right.
So I think that there are some people that will just pay because it's convenient, and there's people that aren't gonna wanna pay that can pay this alternative way, so I think that's fine that they have that option, so. Or pay in person too, right? They can always come to write a check and bring it.
Right.
I mean,
I completely agree.
I think
Sure.
Miguel was gonna.
Oh, Miguel, I'm sorry.
Only thing that I was gonna try to ask around this is this convenience fee slightly different than like a surcharge? Because I know that there are lots of rules around that in the state around credit cards. Because I worked at a company where the model was passing the fee on to the particular person making the payment, and there were a lot of rules around that. The reason why you see like the gas stations kind of offer a credit price and then a cash price, because they can't do a surcharge, but they can do a cash discount, where the price is one price at a credit card level, but then it's at a different price if you pay by check, Venmo, or cash. As long as it's not a credit card, then you get that discount. Wasn't sure if that was something as well that was maybe explored with it.
Cheryl, this isn't considered a surcharge, correct? This is just a fee that,
Right.
for convenience, a
Yes.
convenience
It's
fee.
a fee.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
it's
It's
not,
Right, and
then
we-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally-
it's a-
totally
it's a
for
fee.
it.
Right, it's a
Right.
fee. Thank you for that point, though. Cheryl, can I ask a question? So they charge 50 cents for the processing? When's the last time, that's pretty low. When's the last time they even increased that, or has it just been 50 cents forever?
That's
That's
just
just
for
for
ACH, so if you do a check.
A check,
Right.
that's the check fee.
Gotcha, okay.
Right, and then, like, I linked the fee schedule, because their fee
Oh, thank
schedule
you.
does.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
misread.
vary, it's based on the transaction
Yeah.
amount,
Okay,
for, credit cards.
great.
But, like I said, in the memo, the great thing is that Unibank has now just opened up Venmo as a
Right.
possibility, to use that, so that does exist. So hopefully that helps open up some possibilities for
Right.
individuals.
Oh, $17,000 is not chump change. John, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think in this day and age, this is something that, we should no longer, I mean,
Right.
it's a great, nice to have, but in this environment, not so much.
Right.
Yeah.
Just so in case, I know Charles at home, I'd like to vote on it now versus wait. So can I please have someone make a motion to accept the changes as described by Ms. Stella?
Can I just amend, or ask you to amend that real quickly, Glenn, just to clarify that it would be effective July 1st?
Yep.
Just so that that's clear, and then I can pass that information on to the town treasurer.
Okay. So can someone please, thank you, Charles. Can someone please make a motion that we accept the changes as described by Ms. Stella that would take effect as of the new fiscal year, July 1, 2025?
I'll make a motion.
Someone second, please.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, it passes unanimously.
Thank you, Ms. Stella.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, superintendent's report.
Okay, so there's a couple of things I'm going to request that we table to a future meeting because Officer Wilson can't be here tonight.
Correct.
And that is the Blue Envelope Project, along with, he and I worked on a comfort canine policy for the schools.
Right.
And Mrs. O'Connor's not here, and so I'd like to do that at the same time with Mr. Wilson there. So that brings us to, Ms. O'Connor also requested that we talk about the Upper Jackson Park track. Ms. Wolf was doing her best to be here tonight, but there's an event going on in Marblehead that she had to be at. It's a sports event with students, and so she and Mr. Casper were going to come, but Mr. Casper is here tonight, as usual, to help us out and answer any questions the committee might have regarding that field.
Great. Max, thank you for coming. Always great to see you. This was brought to our attention by a couple parents had reached out to the select board and also to us about the condition of the track up on Upper Jackson. And we, sent some emails that over that weekend. You replied. Can you just maybe tell the board just the history of the track, what's happened to it, who it is in disrepair, what kind of the next steps are?
Yes, certainly. So a little bit of history on the Upper Jackson track. It was built right at the same time as this high school was built. I'm not completely versed in the history, but as I understand it, when you take away parkland, there's a requirement under a certain Mass General law that you replenish that parkland, and I believe that was a requirement here because of where this was built, and as part of that, the Upper Jackson field was built. So it was built around '07, the same time as the high school. So it's been in place for that long. I think a lot of people are surprised to realize how old the high school is at this point. We're coming up on 20 years, and that field is also coming up on 20 years. I've had discussions over the last few weeks with both the athletic director, Ms. Wolf, and the DPW director, Gino Cresta, just to fully understand the situation, because it's important to understand that the DPW does maintain all of the athletic fields throughout the town. It's sort of a partnership with the school, because then the athletic department does manage the rentals and use of the field. So it's a collaboration, and I think that's maybe the best way to think of the sort of management of the project and the issues going forward. And if we all put our heads together, we can figure this out, because there are some issues. In the fall, the AD and the DPW director met with a vendor up at the field, and I think, as I understand it, that's when it really started to become clear that there were more significant issues than maybe anybody had understood to that point, and that the need to address those issues was significant, and the cost was going to be significant. I was actually able to get on a call with that same vendor and the AD recently, which was very helpful for me to understand the situation. And basically, the field is not in a condition where it can be used for meets at this point. They are still able to practice on it. There's a couple of lanes that have some safety hazard that really shouldn't be used. Predominantly, as I understand it, because of roots. This track there's asphalt under the track, and then there's like a track surface that's on top of the asphalt. And given the area, there's a lot of trees in the vicinity, because basically it was cut into the woods. And roots have compromised the asphalt, as you'll see on sidewalks and things like that, and it kind of works its way up. So really what is needed is a large replacement project there. Once that was sort of understood, it was put into the capital plan. It is in the capital plan, in the warrant that will be voted on at town meeting. Right now, it's planned for FY28 and funded for $1 million in that budget. That's not firm. There's need to kind of expand on the design and the understanding and make sure that that number's correct and the scope is appropriate, but, you know, it is in there and it has been in there after they understood the severity of the issue. As I understand it, because of the condition, you know, this year, they did not hold track meets at the track, which I think kind of sort of brought it to more people's attention, understandably. A couple things that Ms. Wolf informed me about that I've had no idea about and found very interesting is, you know, while that's certainly not good and not acceptable and not how we want to have things, it for varsity track, that actually means that they won't hold one meet per year, because they only hold one track meet, varsity track meet at that track per year, which is just, it's just interesting because of the nature of track meets. All of the towns come together, and they have like basically one a meet at each place. One thing she also pointed out, sort of us picking up our slack because of inability to now hold outside meets. We're one of very few communities in the area that is a full indoor track. So we're able to kind of pick up the slack on the indoor track side of things. So again, I'm just trying to kind of give some large, big picture overview. Moving forward, you know, the vendor that we've been discussing this with offers some baked-in design services, so they will be able to help us sort of push it forward without the need for purchased design services. And conveniently, the new engineer for the DPW, Mark Noonan, who's been in for a little while now, has a history working for an engineering firm specifically on athletic fields. So Gino thinks that he's going to be a real asset as kind of helping push this project forward. So, you know, right now it's where it is on the capital plan. Doesn't mean it has to stay exactly there. I think, you know, if it can be a larger part of the capital discussion in the next cycle, should we feel like it really needs to be moved forward. But I think that's pretty a good sort of broad overview of the situation, and you know, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So a couple of takeaways, Max, that I really appreciate, which I didn't know when this all came to light. This is the first year they're not using it. That's one takeaway. And the second major takeaway is it's one track meet.
For varsity, just to be
So
fair, yes.
JV and freshmen might have others. Is that
Yep,
okay?
correct.
Okay.
So does that mean that means our expense is really having a meet where we have to
Take buses.
take buses,
Mm-hmm.
but then JV, yeah, but, so it's like one kind of bus or however many, 5 buses.
Well, I'd like to know
however
how many
many.
JV meets, how many freshmen.
Yeah, like I was thinking
Yeah.
in my mind, it was like a lot of
I
extra
don't-
buses,
They do
that doesn't sound crazy.
Right, cross-country, right?
Right.
Max, so at least like a practice there, right? Of the lanes that are available to practice, do you think they'll survive for 2 years? Given that it's probably beaten by weather up there.
I don't know the answer to that. You know, the ability to practice, they're able to be much more flexible with practice, right? They can kind of use certain things. So I'm not really in a position to be able to fully answer that. I will tell you, though, that we have asked the question of, can we do things to this field from a maintenance perspective at this point to kind of get it back to a better position? The answer is yes, but it's significant, and we're probably talking upwards of $100,000, and it's really good money after bad. Now, it could be a consideration, like to address, like, say, the neediest parts. Like, I know there's a couple lanes that are impacted by tree roots. You can see it when you walk the track. Like, we could address the neediest areas, but it would be a significant project to do that, and it won't change the fact that in the next couple of years, that whole track needs to be addressed. So I don't know that, given the intensity of the use, I don't know that would be a good option.
Out of a sheer curiosity question, did the roots come up or did the track sink?
I don't know from a engineering perspective. I'm assuming that it's more of like the roots are impacting the asphalt under the
Right.
track and pushing it up and
Right.
pushing the track up.
I feel like one of the problems with that track originally was, with the irrigation, was that it's basically on a granite
Right.
bowl.
Right.
Right, like, so I'm pretty sure it's nothing sinking,
No.
because I think it's all stone. I
Yeah.
think that was part of the problem with the irrigation up there. I remember that being an issue, that was sort of just
Right.
like this bowl of
Right. And remember
not great drainage.
I remember my kids playing soccer. It was like a rock. No matter what they did to the field, it's like a rock. All right.
So is there an initiative or anything that you know about, like a back the track kind of fundraiser group, whatever, to try to help raise money or to supplement? I mean, I can't imagine $1 million is enough to fix that.
Yeah.
Well, we did get like it's not just like a dart on a dartboard number. Like, they actually did supply some budgeting for the needs there. So I don't.
But like in today's dollars or in $28? I'm just
Right.
saying, when I think about the Marblehead track was over $1 million, well over $1 million.
Yeah, those would be today's dollars. and-
I'm just saying that it took a lot of extra additional town fundraisers and backing the track and big fundraisers and putting banners, selling space around that track to pay for that track.
Right.
So it's all I'm saying. I just think I hope that there's a group that maybe steps up to try to do some of that, because.
John?
Max, just thank you for that. Just a couple quick clarifications. So the fiscal $28 million track that you talked about, that's a whole new track?
That's a whole new track.
Okay.
Yep, and down milled asphalt underneath the track, new track on top. I mean, that number needs to be thought of a little bit as a placeholder now. It would be fine tuned as we get closer to that. But like, that's a town meeting that's 2 years away from this town meeting, right?
Yeah, and I guess just more of a general comment, I think, I would be in favor of the interim solution if maybe, kind of piggybacking what Suzanne said, if there was maybe a fundraiser / town cooperation on that, just to have it be in use for.
Or safely used.
Yeah, safely used, of course, and, frankly, I'm thinking back when our old football field, I mean, there were sections that were roped off every week for a football game, and, frankly, it was really embarrassing for Swampscott to have other communities come here and see that, and, it sounds like we have a little bit of that going on here too, so. But thank you for coming in on that, for that update.
Of course. And I should have mentioned before, the vendor and the engineers they're planning another site visit in June, because again, they were here in the fall, just to kind of see the status now. And one of the things we wanted to discuss more with them was the interim options and whether those really could be viable.
Great.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max, so much
You're
for
welcome.
coming. Appreciate it.
Of course.
The next item on the agenda you don't have in your packets. It is what I annually report out on. Many years ago, we extended a benefit in the collective bargaining agreement for the teachers union, and that was the ability to enroll their students in our school if they were non-residents. And I remember at the time we did this, we were very worried that the floodgates were going to open and we weren't going to have enough seats. It has been very manageable over the last 5-6 years, however we've done it. And so I just report out to you, but I keep this information private, obviously, that we had 10 requests to re-enroll their students. And so we've accepted those 10 students. In order to re-enroll, they have to be in good standing at the school. They have to adhere to the code of conduct within the school rules and regulations. And we only had 2 new requests for next year. So a total of 12 students of non-resident teachers will be enrolled in the Swampscott Public Schools next year. And the breakdown is this. 1 kindergarten, 1 first grader, 1 second grader, 2 fifth graders, 3 seventh graders, 1 8th grader, 2 9th graders, and 1 10th grader. So 12 is very, very manageable. And the fact that only 2 staff members, educators stepped up to enroll their students, it's a huge commitment, you know, depending on where you live, to, you know, bring your child here. So I just report that out every year to the committee, if you have any questions.
I think I said the same thing last year. I think it's kudos to this entire district that not only do these individuals want to work here, but they see the value from K to high school to having their child go here. And you're right, it's not easy. You know, you're up, you know, when your parents are up. So I think that's just kudos to us, and I'm really glad that we can offer that as a benefit in this very tight job market for educators. It's a great benefit to offer.
I agree, and I've said it multiple times that if they're that committed to the district that they want their children here, I think that just speaks volumes to the kind of district we have.
Great.
And the last item, I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind. It's just a shout out to Mr. Kohut that he was asked to sit on a panel. I don't know if anybody saw the news this morning, and I think it was in the Globe. Suddenly they're talking about removing phones and making it, you know, bigger. I know it was very controversial when Mr. Kohut piloted Yonder with Ms. Finn, and
Was it really? I don't remember any.
you don't remember?
I don't remember that.
So,
Everyone was
I think we
happy.
have a cell phone policy on tonight's agenda again. So anyway, I just wanted to shout out that he was sought after on April 29th to be part of this Schools Lead the Way, from phone distractions to focus. There was a panel discussion moderated by Jim Broad, and he was there with all of these guest speakers. How come it's not moving? I'm moving my screen. Am I in control of that?
Can you do the down arrow? Can you touch that down arrow?
I'm moving it.
Down arrow?
I'm moving it.
It's so weird. Look at the kid.
Well, if you click on the link on your agenda, it shows the panel speakers. So there was a keynote speaker from the Klein School consultation team, who was a clinical psychologist. There was another clinical psychologist. Mr. Kohut was asked to be there. It's moving very slowly, but a children's justice unit from the Mass Attorney General's office. Oh, it's moving eventually. And a principal from Beverly High School, and the superintendent from Hamilton Wenham. So I just think it was great that he was asked to speak. Following that engagement, he was contacted by an assistant attorney general to talk about the mental health issues related to the social media as a follow-up to this panel discussion. So I just think sometimes I don't spend enough time talking about people being solicited to speak. We know that, you know, Ms. Stella's just been asked to speak at her conference about our interest-based bargaining method of collective bargaining. So I think that just prompted me to shout out Mr. Kohut that, you know, to be part of this discussion. And now it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. But anyway, that's just something I wanted to share. On that note, I would like to let our student reps go early tonight because they have so much going on.
Great.
And with the
Someone stay to the very last second.
need to unshare.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come back.
We
Okay, let
will.
us know how everything's going. All right?
See you at graduation.
Yes.
Yes,
Are we allowed to
congratulations.
take our plaques?
You are absolutely allowed to take your part.
Absolutely, yes,
I kind of want this thing.
yes. And we have
Feel like
plenty of those
we're ready
holders,
to
so,
go.
yeah. Go do your thing.
Great.
And
Thank you,
have a
guys.
good night, you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Good night.
Can I just make a comment on this?
sure.
And
I'm trying to get out of this. Zoom.
that's okay. You know, the phone thing, which I know I have completely 180 on. It just, according to this, you know, why it was this panel that Mr. Kohut went to. 1 in 4 students spends 2+ hours on their phone during school. And then the other one that just kind of blows me away. Teens receive an average of 240 app notifications daily. Approximately 25% of those notifications arrive during the school hours.
Yeah, it was interesting. Every morning I'm watching the 5 o'clock news, and it popped up that just talk about, you know, doing it at the state level, which, I don't know. I understand the need for them, and there were parents on there speaking about, you know, being able to get in touch with their kids, and so it's just as controversial as it was then, but I find it interesting that it's popping up again as a topic, and I think it's really great that he was invited to be part of that panel.
So you feel like the topic is getting less pushback as
Right.
there's more information available to how detrimental
Right.
it
Yeah.
truly is to kids'
Right.
social emotional well-being.
Yeah,
Like it definitely feels like less
yeah,
Yeah.
less enthusiastic pushback.
right.
Yep.
Right. I do hope, and I know we're going to talk policy tonight, but I do hope the state does do their thing. All right, thank you, Ms. Angelakis. All right, as far as the committee chair goes, again, welcome to Miguel. Why don't you tell us how school committee school went?
You already did charting the course?
Wait, you did?
Yes.
Oh, my
yes.
goodness. That's a record time.
They had that on Saturday, yeah,
Woohoo.
for 8 hours.
Where'd you have to go?
Westford.
Oh, at least that wasn't so bad.
Not too bad. Interesting school building. Definitely got to meet a lot of other people in different districts. Hear some of their challenges. The Mass School Committee organization, the instructors were characters.
That's such a generous.
Yes, they are.
So it was fun to learn. Some of it definitely kind of knew a little bit, but other parts were definitely very interesting in seeing, and I think some of the other people in the room too were also shocked about some of the stuff that they can't do. And we definitely drilled in a little bit into some of it. So I'm very well educated in our committee powers and things like that, where
Good.
the individual is the individual, but the committee is the one with the power, so.
And I think I think we've always talked about this, and I know Amy would talk about it if she's here, like, you get on the committee to make such a difference, and then you realize your lanes are so narrow
Right,
as a committee. I think it's a shock, right?
right.
Yeah, it takes a while to figure out actually how to enact change.
Right.
And there are ways, obviously.
Mhm.
Did they give you all the information on how to get in the MASC listserv? It's an invaluable
Yes,
resource.
I was about to say the same thing.
So
That listserv is great.
So try to get on the listserv for school committee members. There's always people posing questions and really
Right.
good feedback about what's happening in other districts. It's
Right.
really an
Mhm.
interesting
Right.
listserv.
Yeah, I use it a
It's a
lot.
great, that whole MASC is a great resource. Their website's a
Right.
great resource.
Right. You know, and if there's a class you want to take, you know, I know you'll start getting those emails. You know, we actually have in our policies that, you know, everyone should take at least one every year.
Mhm.
But take them, because it really will help as, you know, you start this journey as a school committee member. It's
I would
really,
also
really
recommend
interesting.
that joint conference in November, the
Yes.
MASS, MASC,
Yes,
which is the superintendent's organization, and the school committee association have a joint conference. And there were a couple of years that we went, and I would really recommend that Mr. Kalishman go with maybe one or two school committee members. I
Right.
think it's a 2 or 3 day conference.
right.
But-
It really is. That's an eye-opening experience, because you hear both sides, from the superintendents and the school committee side.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's vastly different,
Mhm.
you know, what the roles and responsibilities are of a superintendent. And it definitely makes you say, wow, it really does. All right. One other thing, I did meet with Miguel, and we just went over the current policy and protocols. I know when we have our summer retreat, we'll go through those and sign those again, but I just wanted Miguel to see those, and so we chatted about that. Other updates, you know, again, we continue negotiations with the Swampscott Education Association. We are making progress, again, using interest-based bargaining. IBB has just been a fantastic experience all the way through. We continue to move forward, and as we have more updates, we'll continue to talk about that. And just lastly, as far as budget goes, we continue to move in a very positive direction from all accounts, from our budget. We do have 2 articles in the budget as well. The select board did approve both of those last night, so we'll go to town meeting. I think we're in good shape. We'll be ready to discuss really anything we need to discuss about our numbers, and, let the community know how important it is and the due diligence we have done over these past, it's now getting on 6 or 7 months of this process. So that's kind of my last update. Subcommittees, let's talk phones.
Let's talk phones. So actually, before I forget, I don't know if this is a subcommittee thing, but the Town Administrator Search Committee that I'm the school committee
Yes. Thank you for doing that, by the way.
representative for. So if I can just give a quick update on that.
Absolutely.
So there's 5 of us on the search committee, and we have selected a consultant to help field candidates for us to interview. So we made that selection about a week and a half ago. This week, we approved a town survey to go out, just to get the kind of the public sentiment on qualities that are important for the next town administrator. A lot of that was driven by the select board requesting the survey as part of the process. So that's going to be going out probably in the next, probably less than a week.
Okay.
And towards the end of this month, I think the expectation is that the posting will be made public to post for the position and start receiving applications.
Great.
So
It's good news. Thank you.
Update at this
How
point.
big's the survey?
It's very modest.
Like, what are you trying to get at? Just out of curiosity, it seems like a funny. I'm surprised you're doing it. I mean, I'm surprised it's happening. Just kind of curious what.
Like I said, this is something the select board asked us to do. I think the challenges you just alluded to were something we discussed as well, that it's not easy for this type of position to do a survey. It's not like,
Right.
it's not like a new school.
Right.
Well,
So,
I just feel like
Yeah.
I feel like everyone, whatever.
so
The answers
I-
the
seem
way,
obvious.
yeah, the way it was put, I think it's 3 questions, and 2 of them are multiple choice. So out of list of 10 or so items, select the 4 that are most important to you. I think that's 2 of the questions. The third one is kind of an open response. So anything else you think is important to be considered in this process, there's an opportunity to voice on that. So,
Are we gonna send it through Parent Square? I mean, are we gonna use this channel? Or can we use this channel? I mean, I think obviously.
thank you for, that was actually one of the questions I had. It came up, because we were discussing various ways to get this out, and I said I would come back and ask about Parent Square, and
Do that. Important town activity and event, and so, yeah, we could send it out.
so,
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a population that would do an online. I mean, I think we
Yeah.
probably have to do some other
Right.
offline surveys, but I think this population would do an online
Okay.
survey.
But, yeah, so I'll follow up when I know more details on the link and everything else, but thank you.
You can just send it to Nancy and myself, and we'll
Okay.
make sure it goes out.
Great. Thank you, John, for that update. Okay, continue, please.
All right. All right, so I think, let me share, hopefully the link got updated, but if it did not,
It's like the evil policy.
I know, the EVA policy, so this is, actually, one more. Actually, if y'all have it, I'll just, so when we did the first read, and just for Miguel's benefit, we did a first read at the last school committee meeting on this, and what I said I would do is go back and clean up some of the, there was some punctuation
Right.
issues that didn't translate from PDF to Word, so I fixed
Right.
all that up.
Okay.
I made a couple of small tweaks just in the language, which doesn't change anything
Okay.
as far as meaning, but just makes it a little clearer. Just to highlight those, just so everyone's aware, second paragraph, at the high school level, all personal devices. That language was tweaked slightly, and that was really to be consistent with what's in the the third paragraph, which is at the elementary and middle school levels.
Right.
Use of personal devices. So again, just to make it consistent one paragraph to the next.
Okay.
The last paragraph about tiered consequences, it says these consequences may include a verbal warning, confiscation of the device, et cetera. So again, very modest changes.
Right.
But again, just clearing up.
I just have just a suggestion. I think we should just add the phrase, these consequences may include, but are not limited to.
Very good point.
Because, there's some other things I could think about that might happen, some sort of social justice related kind of activities, or, there could be other things other than just a verbal warning and a parental call. That's all I'm saying, just.
Yeah.
add something like, but not limited to.
Yeah, I agree, Susanna, that's minor, that's not gonna stop the vote.
No, I think we can vote to approve the policy
Yeah.
as amended.
Yep.
I
I agree. Can I just out of curiosity, if the state ever were to get their act together and actually pass a more global rule, that would supersede this?
yes.
I have to have a new policy that follows that one.
Right, do we need to put something in here that?
No,
So
okay.
we would just do it.
Just
if it
asking,
occurred.
okay,
Yeah, yeah.
great,
Yeah.
all right.
Because we don't know what's gonna happen.
Okay, so with the change that was made, and Miguel, I'm gonna ask you to vote present, because you weren't here for the first one, okay, please. Can someone make a motion to, at long last, accept our cell phone policy?
Make the motion
All right,
as amended.
okay, as amended. Can someone second, please?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? All right, all those opposed? That finally passes, and watch, they'll change the rule tomorrow.
Exactly.
Thank you, John and Suzanne, for really going at this for a long time. Thank you to Mr. Kohut, and everyone else who helped with that. All right, anything else from a subcommittee point of view? I don't think so. All right, we are gonna open it up for public comment in case we do. If anyone does want to do public comment, can you raise your hand, please? Seeing no one in our busy audience here, is anyone online who would like to talk? I see one person.
Wait, can I ask Mr. Moran a question?
Yes, of course.
How was Junior Honor Society? How many kids got inducted last night?
It was great. We had, I'm gonna say about 55, I think is the number.
Wow,
That's great.
A lot of great kids in middle school, doing really nice
that's
things.
great.
That's great.
We do a lot of volunteer stuff throughout the year, so seeing them get recognized for that's really special.
Right.
Families are
Thanks.
there.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I just saw all those, everyone looked so grown up in their blue and white, and there was like, it looked so
great.
great.
Wow, 55, that's fantastic. Good job to the middle school. Great, thank you, Suzanne. Okay, since we do have public comment, let me just read this, please. So, if the public has something to say to the school committee, in addition to emailing and calling us, we invite you to speak during our committee. We do allot a total of 15 minutes for public comment and allow each speaker 3 minutes, and we do hold everybody to those 3 minutes. I'll put my timer on so we can monitor that. Please, please, please understand that we are listening, but we will not immediately respond. We will never respond to personnel matters pertaining to any staff other than the superintendent and the only Swampscott Public School employee that we actually oversee. Comments on Zoom, please sign your name and address in the Q&A chat. Q&A chat will be open for people to sign up, but will not be monitored for questions, etc. So I see one hand raised. I'm gonna, if I can figure this out. Rachel, I believe, can you talk to us?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on one sec. We're just gonna make it a little louder.
Sure.
All right, there you go. Can you just say your full name and your address,
Sure,
please?
yeah, Rachel Teradash, 71 Middlesex Ave. I timed myself, I'll be under my 3 minutes.
Okay.
I'm here to talk to you tonight about school buses. For the first year of the new elementary school, Swampscott offered school buses for families living 1.6 miles or more from the elementary school. Last week, families who were less than 2 miles from SES were notified that will no longer receive bus service for next year. I'm here to ask for your help in increasing bus availability for elementary school next year instead of decreasing it. Families impacted by this change include a large number of families surrounding the Clark School, potentially going back as far as Essex Street and Stetson. Many of these families, including my own, have 2 working parents, which is what allows us to continue to live here. Without the bus, our children would have to cross Paradise Road, a road where cars don't stop for red lights or even other cars. 2020 to 2024 data from Mass DOT indicates that accidents on Paradise Road account for 1/3 of all accidents in Swampscott. This averages nearly 1 accident per week, many of these major, including a recent rollover. Without the bus, more children will either need to walk or be driven to school, which is a potentially huge increase to traffic to the area surrounding the elementary school. Without the bus, parents who have been able to continue working throughout the day will now have to take time off from work to drop off and pick up their children. Increased bus service means safer routes to school for young children. It means fewer cars on the road. It means working parents can keep working. We want to continue to encourage families to move to Swampscott and to be able to afford to live here. Providing safe, reliable transportation to and from school will help make this possible. Swampscott has never been a busing community, you told me today, Mr. Pastor. But until this year, we've also never been a community with a centralized elementary school. I've been in contact with a number of families about this. One of them shared, and this is a quote, "There are so many parents that would partake in this, but for whatever reason, the school committee, school department just seems to shrug and act like it's not their problem when parents with jobs, meaning most of us, are struggling with transportation. I'm not asking you to give us $100,000 for a bus. I know the budget is lean everywhere. I've been engaged in all of these conversations. I am here to ask you to consider this request, and instead of a knee-jerk no, I'm asking that instead you say, what if we could? And to work with families and the school department to see if there's anything we can do to find a way to increase bus access for Swampscott families. Thank you."
Great, thank you, Rachel, I appreciate it. Okay, and seeing no one else, we can move forward. All right. Okay. Next, actions and votes. We already voted on the Unibank, so we voted on the electronics policy. Excuse me, so we have some donations.
Can I make a motion to talk about each donation, but then just vote them in a block?
Absolutely, sure.
If anyone wants to second that motion.
Second. All right. All in favor? Thank you. I know you ask me that all the time, and I just never.
No, I think I would never put a donation in the consent agenda because I think each one deserves
Right.
individual recognition, but I think we could just
Okay.
vote to accept 4 donations at the end.
That's fine. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is the name of the donor is the Swampscott Conservancy. They are donating $500, and the funds will go towards students building bat boxes for the Swampscott trails. And I'm going to butcher your name, I'm sorry. Anna.
Taxitos.
Thank you. And Thomas Mello. Again, just for what the donation will be used for is plywood materials to build 10 bat boxes to the Swampscott Conservancy, excuse me. Thank you so much. That's very, very generous of you. Thank you. Next, we have the name of the donor is the Shore, S-U-R-E. It's the Shore Foundation. And they're donating $1,500 towards funding the Heritage Festival games and attractions. And I know I drove by, and it was pretty amazing down there. Nothing better than a community event. So $1,500 it's an amazing donation. Thank you so much.
It was well spent on those games because there's lots of kids, doing the bouncy thing, and
Right.
there was even a kid in a dunk tank. It was a little cold, but
I mean, these kind of community events are really what makes this a special place. So that's great. Thank you again. $1,500 is amazing. Next, the donation is from Christina Murphy, and Christina donated $95. Christina, class of 26 advisor, and we are sponsoring one prom ticket for the Swampscott High School Junior Prom. Again, I want to go back to, this is what makes this community special.
how did the junior prom go off? I heard it was great.
It was great.
Great.
Friday night, yep, I got to sleep. Yep.
My
Wait for
great
those
niece,
phone
my
calls.
great niece had an amazing time.
Oh, good.
Yes. But I just want to reiterate, this allowed a student to go who may or may not had an opportunity to go. These kind of donations are just amazing. And I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about here. And lastly, The donor is Brianna Warner's office from HGA in Boston, and they are donating furniture with a value of $17,856. Brianna Werner's office in Boston is closing its location. They donated furniture that would otherwise be liquidated or hauled away. Again, thank you so much for bringing this to the school district. It will definitely be put to good use throughout the district. Very generous of you. Thank you very, very much. So with that, can someone please make a motion to accept all the donations?
I'll make a motion to
Someone second.
accept 4 donations.
Yep. Can someone second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? Fantastic. Those aside, thank you. We really don't have a consent agenda because there's only one thing. That's to approve the regular session minutes of April 10th. Again, I'll ask Miguel not to vote on this one. Can someone make a motion to accept those minutes of April 10th, 2025?
I'll make the motion.
Suzanne, can you second?
Yep.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anything else we need to discuss?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much. Can someone second?
Second.
Can we vote, please? There you go. We are done. Goodbye.